Before we get started, I just want to disclaim that I'm pretty friendly with the designer of this game, and I even have a brief cameo in it, so this is a biased essay. Also, spoiler warning for Hypnospace Outlaw. A weird fact about me is that I learned to type through a Naruto roleplay forum. Naruto exploded in popularity in the US when I was a preteen, and for one glorious summer, I wholly devoted myself to my OC, Arkai Chickaroni. Rain Village Ninja had a cool magic spear that could turn into a water drill. He was as cool as a low-level character in an online forum could be. I never quite made it to Chunin rank. The forum had a system of level-ups that essentially required you to gain experience based on the quality, and more importantly, quantity, of training posts you made. But I learned a lot in the short time I used the site. Trawling through pages of poorly refereed ninja battles, and the dozens of off-topic boards where folks could talk more freely, I had a front-row seat to the culture of the early 2000s internet. Petty arguments, flame wars in forum bios, nerds trying to one-up each other over media minutia. It was a formative experience for me, though much of it is a vague, RuneScape clouded haze. I went back, when I started the script, to see if there was anything left of Arkai. The forum, now pretty dead, had some sort of restructuring a while back. He didn't make it. There's a part of me that's glad no evidence exists of my old character. I cannot imagine my preteen writing skills were anything short of dismal. Still, I have to be grateful for my OC. He taught me to love the craft in the first place. Un-Navigatable is a solo journaling game designed by Caden Ramstack. The player is put in the perspective of a former user of the blogging platform Jenga, carefully trying to archive their childhood blog before the site collapses due to financial insolvency. Built on Chris Bissett's Wretched and Alone framework, the mechanics have players answering prompts and drawing blocks from a Jenga tower, a race against time before Jenga fully disconnects. The W&A SRD is known for its incredible difficulty. The odds of winning in the way the game defines it are comically slim. But like most journaling games, the journey is vastly more meaningful than the destination. Though pretty standard as far as mechanics go, Un-Navigatable is an exceptional piece due to its layout alone. There's a basic plaintext version available on itch.io, but Ramstack's actually created a whole website to host this game, and it's accessible now, for free. Just check the link in the video description. I assure you, you will not be disappointed. Its emo checkerboard patterns and font choices straight out of a Joker film will send you right back to the heyday of Evanescence. Even the mouse cursor changes depending on what page you're on. If that's not peak 2000s internet, I don't know what is. The cultural touchstones are especially fitting because they're part and parcel with the way people acted online. For younger viewers, you probably don't have any context for why I'm being so cagey about internet speak from the mid-2000s. Helpfully, Ramstack provides us with an example in the rules. Example 1. Write a post about a hobby you no longer do. User: XX Raxor Rower XX. Post number 1. Date: 10/29/06.
ZOMG, guess who's back? You would not believe what I had to do in art today. I had to draw my favorite anime boy. Oh, wow. Well, the teacher said to draw cartoon, but like, whatever. I got to draw Sasuke in class and not get in trouble. I cannot stop drawing him. He is so spexy.
Ramstack is not exaggerating with this example. If you want more proof, search the word glomping and just see what comes up. But that's actually where Un-Navigatable is its strongest, in its memory of the cringy ways young people behaved online. There's a reason the object of the game is to archive these old posts, despite the tide of embarrassment that threatens to make you cancel the project entirely. There's a level of sincerity here that can't be faked or denied. And in that sincerity, in the slivers of insight into who you were, you get a real glimpse at the person you would become. Hypnospace Outlaw is a simulation and puzzle game developed by Tendershoot, published in 2019. In it, players take on the role of moderators of an internet ecosystem that runs on the Hypno operating system, so named because it is accessed via electronic headband and browsed while the user is asleep. Paid only in proprietary Hypnocoin, your character enforces the rules of the corporation that owns HypnoS, which largely involves removing IP violations and shutting down flame wars. Throughout this journey, You get to experience swaths of an even earlier era of the internet than Un-Navigatable simulates, though certainly a familiar one. People hype up bands, collect Pokemon knockoffs, and share the most dog water recipes known to humanity. It also foreshadows the darker pits of what the internet would become in future decades. Petty moderators rule digital fiefdoms with iron fists. One scene that stuck with me was the board where a black artist got banned because the forum's owner didn't consider the genre of flip-flop, a clear parody of hip-hop, real music. And most relevant of all, the biggest conflict in the text occurs because a greedy businessman tries to launch his pet program before it's ready, injuring hundreds and killing a handful of Hypnospace users. In the world of the game, this event shutters the service, locking hundreds of active pages, smothering thriving communities. The game's got a wild premise, but I bring it up because, while set in an era of the internet a bit before Un-Navigatable, it shares similar concerns about digital preservation. After a 2-decade time skip, Hypnospace Outlaw tasks players with archiving and documenting those virtual spaces that were once lost. I think anyone who plays both of these games will see that the writer's intent was not to portray some perfect utopia before social media and constant advertising ruined the internet. But both of these games ask the question, why is this worth saving? I never used Jenga myself, but How Stuff Works made it out to be a blogging platform just slightly ahead of its time compared to MySpace and Facebook. Kate Nibbs, writing for Digital Trends, called it the angstiest social network, a virtual haven for teens to vent tumultuous feelings about crushes and emo bands. It ran from 1999 to 2013, when its hosting service ended its lease with them. There was a brief attempt to convert the site into a paid service, with some attempt at archiving old blogs, but a quick look through Facebook comments and help boards suggests that the vast majority were lost for good. And though Jenga's last sad gasp at crowdfunding $60,000 is a pretty pathetic way to go out, what's even sadder is the fact that a ton of people are just never going to be able to access those blogs again. Just by reading through the help messages, you can get a sense of how deeply people cared about this service, and how bitterly disappointed they are that it's gone. And from a historical standpoint, it's also a bummer. We have a sense of what culture was like during a large swath of history because it was physically documented, written down in journals and letters and diaries. But as culture increasingly shifts to a digital forum, records of how people feel and think and behave don't have that same permanence. Un-Navigatable's ultimate goal is preservation. The wretched and alone system's punishing rule set makes that goal nearly impossible to achieve, but it's telling that Ramstack framed the text as one whose primary verb is documentation. Un-Navigatable is a race against time, a hurried attempt to save what you can before it's too late. And unfortunately for all of us, it seems that, as the internet gets older, we'll all end up playing this game one way or another. The Pew Research Center recently reported that 38% of all web pages that were online in 2013 are now inaccessible. This link rot is perhaps no better exemplified than in Wikipedia, where 54% of articles now contain a broken link in the reference section. The fact that nearly 40% of all pages accessible 10 years ago are now just gone is deeply frightening to me. To connect this conversation back to tabletop games, think about what happened to the RPG community on Google+. G+ shut down in April of 2019, taking with it a vibrant and dynamic RPG community on par with the heyday of the Forge. And while there are archives floating around out there, they're not easily accessible or intuitive. According to Ian Williams writing for Waypoint, there's a whole era of internet discussion, conversations that spawned the PBTA trend, Blades in the Dark, and Stars Without Number, that are now largely lost. And, in a grim twist of relevance, that Ian Williams story I'm getting my information from is also at risk of disappearing, because the greedy execs at Vice Media bankrupted their company last year and ruined one of the best games journalism outlets in the English language in the process. It may not surprise you that the collapse of Waypoint, Google+, and Jenga are all a direct result of the profit-motivated few exploiting the many who just wanted to do something nice for a community. But as the powers that be continue to wring every last drop of capital out of both their products and consumers, we can only expect the internet's perpetual amnesia to worsen. Maybe you don't care about any of this, and fair enough. There's certainly things on the internet better left forgotten. As long as the net exists, people will use it to shape communities and identities, The conversations lost over the decades will simply repeat themselves. But I think Un-Navigatable mourns the loss of those memories for the same reason you might want to hide from them. Every inch of this game is about acknowledging the rawest, most sincere interests and emotions of your youth, unfiltered and awkward though they may be. It wants you to celebrate the person you used to be, because that's the person that made you you. And I think, as we fight the same battles over and over again online, reheating old discourses and repeating bad habits, we ought to take that spirit of unironic enthusiasm to heart. If we're gonna keep having our memories sold out from underneath us, we might as well have a good time. Thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate anyone who takes the time to see what I'm saying about tabletop games. If you want to help keep the channel going, you can send me a tip at my Ko-Fi in the video description. My background picture is Liquefied Image by Adrian on Unsplash, and my profile picture is by Eater Outsider on Tumblr. If you want to find more of my work, I'm at aavoy on Blue Sky, Monster Factory Fanfic on Tumblr, but my main site is aavoy.com, where I talk about games and writing. I also do another podcast, Mortified the Friendship Quest, where me and my friend Layla do critical media analysis. We're just going to, when this video comes out, have released an episode about Shrek 2, which is maybe the best movie in American cinema. So anyway, if that's interesting to you, please check that out. Thanks as always for watching. Until my next video, see ya.